You're listening to the Womanpreneur Podcast. Empowerment in business and life.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to the Womanpreneur Podcast. My name is Melissa Moats, and this is the lovely and talented Amanda McEwen.
Hello.
How are you today?
I am doing all right. I just watched you throw our little director clicker thing. She's had some sugar this morning. It's morning. It's not even morning. It's afternoon when
What
we're
are you
recording.
having?
I don't know. We just did some photos for our website, and there was a lot of smiling and goofiness and silliness, which is fun. But yeah, I don't know what's happening now.
We exerted ourselves. We put a lot of energy out into those photos. We hope you guys enjoy them. And I just know you don't like a lot of clutter up here. So
I
did
don't like
the
clutter.
Ksh, you know, the action. Ksh, and I just went, whoosh, I threw the thing. Anyway.
I think it was a passive-aggressive commentary on my lack of liking clutter. But that's okay.
It's fine.
I've been picking on Melissa a little bit today.
She's been picking on me a lot of it, but it's fine. I know it's a lot of love coming at me. It's fine. I can take it.
It is.
But so what are you thinking? What should we talk about today?
Today we're talking about money. Money. Because everybody needs money.
Okay.
I don't know anybody who doesn't like money.
Yeah.
I think we all wish we had more money.
Sure.
And so I think I know that we're here to share, just some advice and tips on money in general, that word budgeting that I know people don't always love, but why it's important, some of the things that maybe work for us in terms of having more money.
Sure. No, I know you've got a lot of really good advice and thoughts, and I'm sure I'll come up with something.
She's not sure yet. Maybe she knows about money. Maybe she doesn't. We'll see. We'll see where the episode takes us.
Well, the truth is that I'm really grateful that I have different people who are involved in my career who help me manage my money and take care of my bookkeeping and a lot.
I wonder who that could be.
She's
Who's this great and amazing person that you're talking about that helps you with your finances?
So I'm really thankful. My advisors.
Ooh.
Isn't that a great word?
Well, with your voiceover voice that you just used,
right?
Yeah. Like I sat up taller.
Right.
I feel like I'm taking superhero stance now.
As you should. No, but it's nice to have people who are great at that stuff, and also just the daily money management and tracking expenses and different things like that. That's not my favorite thing to do.
No.
I like to tell stories. That's what I like to do.
Right.
And teach people how to tell stories. So, but let's just dive in. I mean, I want you to kick it off with all of your Amanda McEwen-ness. I'm going to sip my coffee.
Okay.
Take it all in.
I like it.
Okay.
I keep saying think, but I know that money, it's one of the important things, whether you're a business owner, whether you're a person, because we all need money. Excuse me. And the first thing, the reason why I think budgeting is important, not that you have to spend a ton of time making a spreadsheet or something of that nature, but if you don't know what you have coming in and what you have going out, you can't really make informed decisions about what you need to do. And so if you feel like you don't have enough money, there's two things that you can do. You can make more or you can spend less. And it's really as simple as that, even though those aren't simple things to do. But without knowing, it's easy to say, oh, I just don't have enough money. It's like, okay, but where is it going? And that's what a lot of people who come to me, they don't really know. They just know that there's not enough money in the account. But when I ask what they're spending it on, they don't know.
Yeah, and they don't have the details or the understandings of where their money's going. Yeah.
And that is problematic, especially as a business owner.
Sure.
Because, income becomes important. And even as just a person, if your expenses are more than your income, there's a problem.
Yes.
And so having a system, and I know not everybody loves systems, but that is a really easy way. There's all this software out there in the world that makes it easier to track those things.
So many good ones too. I like QuickBooks a lot for for my voiceover income, and also, the studio and stuff. And it is really, really important to have ways to, invoice to get paid, and then to really be able to track what you've been paid on. I know it's a huge pet peeve to businesses when you reach out and you say, hey, I don't know if I've been paid on this invoice yet. It makes you look really, I would just say unprofessional, and kind of like, it's a real amateur move.
And you're creating extra work for your client.
Yes.
And it's not their responsibility to know, to know whether you've been paid or not. If you can't keep track of who owes you money, and good for you if you just have so much coming in that you don't know if somebody's paid you. But I think for most people, you definitely know if somebody owes you money or not.
Yes. And it's just really important to know, where you're at, and your receivables, and what's out there and what hasn't been paid yet and stuff. So open invoices, or also people who have owed you money and it's way past due. I mean, stuff like that. Because the longer it goes, the harder it is sometimes to collect getting paid. I just recently resolved payment with someone. It was it was coming up on 1 year since I had done some work for them. And I just bluntly told them, like, I really don't want to have to chase my money down, and it's awkward for both of us. So maybe just pay me, And
Melissa Moats, in her kindness, was very firm. I was very proud.
Thank you.
And she got her money. And it's from somebody that plays some games to make sure that he doesn't pay people sometimes. He has a history of that. So I was very glad that you put your foot down and said, this is what you owe me. Take care of it.
Yeah, it was pretty firm.
It was.
It was some firm Melissa Moatsness right there. But it's business. And, it's one of those things where when you are dealing with money, you've done the work. You've provided a service, a product. You deserve to be paid, So anyway, I don't want to get off topic. I mean, it is on the topic of money,
right?
But we were kind of going in a different direction. So.
Well, the whole point is to have a system, and QuickBooks is a great one. FreshBooks is another one for independent contractors or anybody. There are a lot of different options out there. I always recommend trying a few different ones, see what works for you, because they're all similar, but one just might vibe with you better than the others.
Now it seems like more and more of them they're more accessible because they're cloud-based. And so you can
user-friendly, I should say.
Yeah.
Back in the day, QuickBooks was overwhelming. It felt like you needed to be an accountant to really understand it. They've simplified things a lot with these different software options so that you don't have to have a deep background in accounting. You just have to sort of understand what income and expenses are and how to track in the right categories.
If you know how to balance a checkbook.
Who balances a checkbook anymore?
Right? Doesn't that sound so old-fashioned?
I bet there are some people watching and listening who are like, balancing a checkbook.
What's a checkbook?
Right. It's kind of funny. I have one vendor who still takes checks. It's the only person that I can't pay online. It's my exterminator. And because I don't like to go buy stamps, because I have to go to a place, and then it's money that I have to spend when everywhere else I can just pay online. So when my my exterminator comes, I tape the check on my back door, because that way they get paid while they're there, because I don't want to mail the check. But then it's, I have to order new checks just to pay one person. It's kind of a hassle. Things have changed a lot in the last few years or so.
It is wild. It is. And it seems too, on the subject of money, it does seem like more and more of my clients are wanting to pay, ACH, direct deposit, things like that, and just completely go paperless. And, I'm rolling with it because it seems like I'm getting paid a lot faster from clients too. Cause I think it's just they don't have to worry about check runs and people signing the checks and, all the things that go into that. So I definitely recommend, if a client wants to pay you via PayPal, Venmo, get your bank information and, have you fill out a form to, send it to you automatically, go for it.
Make it easier for your clients to pay you.
Yeah.
That's always a good thing.
Yeah, definitely.
And even if you're not in business, even for your personal finances. So I use a program called Mint. It's free. There's a paid version. The free one has ads. I don't mind about the ads. I don't like to pay for things. That's part of, how I keep my money for myself, is not paying for things I don't need. I'll tolerate commercials. Not for TV. I do pay for the no commercial versions of Hulu and such.
But she does love commercials.
I don't like commercials.
So much.
Most of my career was involved in making commercials, and
I know.
I don't need to watch them or listen to them.
You just like to produce them?
Yes.
And get paid for them?
Exactly.
That's where I'm
Make
at with
the
it.
money. But,
right?
Yeah. But so I like Mint. It's actually made by Intuit, who's the same company that makes QuickBooks.
Oh, okay.
But so it's a way to track your personal income and expenses also,
Okay.
which really helps keep track of all of that. And it's nice for your accountant at the end of the year to have things tracked, which saves you money because then you don't have to pay your accountant as much.
Well, I have, just a quick side note, I don't have Mint. I actually have a book, a little book, a paper book.
If you could see my face right now, I'm
eyes-
fascinated by this book already, and I don't know about it.
Your eyes like had this little bursty effect that just happened. But I have a book. It looks kind of like a journal you would buy at Barnes and Noble. It's real pretty. It has like the world on it, and
Is it pink?
no, it's blue.
Oh.
It's
Blue world.
It's a blue world out there. A lot of water. Anyway, I actually have the last probably 10 years worth of my household expenses every month.
Like written by hand?
I write it by hand.
Wow. I'm
Real old fashioned.
Wow. Okay. So, but which is a case in point though, use the system that works for you.
I do really like it because for me, I like being able to like write handwrite notes, like days that bills are due by, and the way that I pay myself and break up my payroll for myself. I pay certain bills on one, payroll and other bills on the other. And I just have a nice little way that I track everything. And I pay my bills online, but I don't use like an app or whatever to track everything. I know you should see the
app
smile.
like you were accusing me of something.
No, I don't.
I don't use an app.
An app.
An app. But that's, the thing is not
old-fashioned.
and it's okay. And I tell
you.
people this all the time. I do feel that the online software makes it easier. And if you were doing that for your business, I might sit you down
Don't
and have
do it for
a
your
talk.
business.
But
yeah.
You have to find the thing that makes sense to you in the way that your brain works. Because otherwise you're just going to get frustrated and not do it. And the big thing here is to pay attention and find a way that makes it might not be fun. I can't say that budgeting is always going to be fun, but if it helps you make better decisions so that you have more money to do something fun, that could work.
Absolutely.
And so, budgeting is very tricky. I think when you have a job, when you have a full-time job and you're an employee, it's easy. You know what your salary is, so you can sort of start with this number and then go down the line of, okay, I have this much, my bills are going to be this much, this is how much I have left for the other things. When you own your own business or you work for yourself, you have this opposite thing. You have to start from zero, figure out how much do I have to make at a minimum each month to cover my bills. And some people don't even know what that number is. I don't know what that number is. I have a rough idea, but you need to know my mortgage or my rent is going to cost this much, my utilities, food, the basic necessities. And I mean necessities is sort of that step one that I tell people. Step one is figure out your necessities, the bare minimum that you have to make to cover the things that you need.
Yeah.
And be honest about what you need. And then the next tier is once you've figured out that you have enough income to cover that baseline, now you can move up a step. And that's where having a list of your wants becomes important and prioritized by, okay, so if I make extra money this month, here are the things that I can do. Sort of making a plan that says, okay, so as my income increases, I can afford more things. Mm-hmm. And the only way to know how to do that is to know
to track it.
Is.
Well, just a quick thought popped in my head. A lot of, freelance creatives and voice actors is an example I use often because that's my world. Students will say to me, how do I know when I, can leave my day job and pursue voice acting full time? And I always say, well, you want to make sure that you have enough regular clients, and regular clients, that means the repeat business. That's when people are calling you back again and again and again. And you can create or understand what your average is of the income that you're getting from those regular clients. And then obviously you're still building new relationships and getting new clients at the same time. But I always say, what you're making, what your income is with your day job, and you want to be comfortable. You don't want to be pursuing voice work or any type of creative work or freelance work, feeling desperate, or feeling stressed out, or too much pressure on you, because then you aren't going to be able to be free mentally, and your stress level to be able to go out there and get that new work. So I think it's really important to truly know, number one, what you need to pay all of your overhead and the necessities. But then wait a while and really watch that. If you have one good month as a photographer, or one really good month doing graphic design work, or one good month as a voice actor, you can't just go, whoopee, I had one great month, I'm going to quit my day job. I think it's important to maybe give yourself several months or even a whole year of making sure that you are consistently making that money to know that you're going to be comfortable walking away from the security of that every week or every other week or whatever paycheck. So
my advice in that would be to save. If you know that you're planning on leaving your full-time job to go do something for yourself, is to build up that cushion while you have the security of the paycheck. Build up that savings, find other ways to cut, so you have a sort of a cushion ready for you. Because the other tricky thing, and what you're saying is absolutely true, but when you're spending 40 plus hours at a day job, you don't have time to build the client relationships that you will actually be able to sustain when you are on your own.
Sure.
So that you have to feel it out and go with your instincts a lot, and just you'll know when the time is right. But getting a few clients, steadily increasing your income on the side, leaving that money on the side as much as you can.
Yeah.
And you build up to that point to where you're ready to launch, and then you have the time to put into really getting the steady work.
Yeah, it's definitely walking a tightrope a little bit when you're getting ready to leave a day job and dive into the freelance world. Many talent whom I've mentored, I'll say you can even take a baby step where, if you're working full-time as a nurse, or that's just an example that just popped in my head, then maybe slowly get to the point where you go part-time, and then you spend more time doing your creative, endeavor, and then, tiptoe through that for a while, and then back out of that, and then transition full-time. And saving, definitely.
It's good to have some patience.
Patience is key when you're starting a business and you're building a business. You really have to have your expectations in line for how long things are going to take. We live in a now society, and everything is instant, on demand, anytime, anywhere, at your fingertips. Boom. We're like, click of a button. Click the banner now. We can't do that when we start a business. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of time, and you have to chip away. But you said something before we hit record today, and I really want to make sure we don't forget to talk about it because it's so important. Okay. You said...
What did I say?
It was a really good point, and I want to make sure that we address it. You said, well, when you're a brand new business and you're so wrapped up in, making sure you're earning enough, it's not always easy to outsource and to take things such as, delegating things like for bookkeeping, or that's what pops into my head, because that's like my least favorite thing to do. I just, I'm responsible. I know what I'm spending, and I know my expenses, and I'm very aware of where my money is and what I'm doing with it, but I don't enjoy the day-to-day tracking of it and all the stuff. I mean, and you are excellent at it. And I trust you and I'm super grateful. But my thing is, there's so much value in having someone who's really great at that stuff and very detail oriented take care of it. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, and the reason I said that, there's two sort of money tips that I think are counterintuitive, and that's why people don't always think of them. And number one is delegating. It's outsourcing. And for most people, especially when they're just getting started, or my concern is that I don't have enough money, and you're advising me to pay somebody money to do things. And this goes back to a couple episodes ago, we talked about the value of time, and that's something that's really important to consider.
It's huge.
Say bookkeeping is a perfect example, and it's a good one because most people hate doing it. It's why I do it for a number of companies. I don't love bookkeeping, but I'm good at it. I can do it fast, and it's second nature to me. I don't mind because I can do it remotely. It's a nice way to get in with a company. And then because once I'm in with a company, I can make those decisions and say, oh, you're spending a lot of money on this. Maybe we could improve this. So it all works out. But a lot of people don't enjoy bookkeeping. And let me start with the two reasons you should delegate something is if you don't like it and you're not good at it. And the reason is you're wasting time doing those things.
Because it's going to take you 2, 3, 4 times longer to do something that someone else can do very quickly and probably a lot better than you can do it because it's what they do.
Yeah, so like if you say bookkeeping as the example, if you're spending 5 hours a week doing your bookkeeping and it's draining you and you hate it and you put it off and you don't want to do it, but you know that it has to be done and you think that you can't afford to pay somebody, like think about that 5 hours.
What you could accomplish in that 5 hours.
There's two things there. One, that 5 hours, somebody else can probably do in an hour, or, it's not 5 hours at that person's rate. That's not necessarily how much you're going to pay because you're hiring an expert who's going to be more efficient at it, and it's not going to cost probably as much as you think it will. But try talking to people. A lot of times I get people like, I would love to work with you, but I can't afford you. And it's like, you don't have any idea what I charge for anything. You've never asked. It's just an assumption that's made. So part of that, just talk to somebody, get an idea of what that might cost. And the other thing is to know what your 5 hours are worth to you. And especially when you're a business owner, what is the thing that you do with your time that makes you the most money? Like for one example of a client that I had this conversation with, his biggest thing is going out and networking with his clients to get more jobs, and so he realized that 5 hours that he was spending stressing over bookkeeping, he could have maybe 4 or 5 meetings with potential clients in that time and then bring in significantly more than what he would pay somebody to take that 5 hours off of his hands.
So our listeners and our viewers, just stop for a second and think about, what is it that you do that creates the most revenue for you in your business? What is it that you are awesome at? And if you had more time to put toward that, what would you be filling your time doing? It's probably the thing you love the most too, interestingly enough. So the stuff that we don't enjoy doing, it also just emotionally, I think, and mentally is draining, for us. Because before I had help with my stuff, my books and things like that, and admin work, I would like literally, it was just like this thing in my room that was staring at me in my office, this thing in my desk. And I was like, oh, I don't want to do that, and even that dread is energy, but sorry.
Well, no, that's a lot of people hate admin work. I hate admin work. I'm good at it. I can do it. I don't want to. And that's, a lot of people I know, I'll advise to hire an assistant. There's a lot of virtual assistants out there right now that are great. And people are like, I can't afford to hire an assistant. And it's like, but can you? I mean, because again, that money, that time that you're spending doing the things that you hate is time that you could spend doing things you love and that bring you more income. So it's just a shift in mindset, like we always talk about, in thinking about it a little more realistically. Well, if I freed up 15 hours a week, what could I do with that 15 hours? Could I grow my business? Could I make more income that's going to pay you more? There's probably some, I don't know what a reasonable rate for an assistant is, but I know there's a lot of people who do great work affordably, and that it's significantly, again, less than what you're charging for your services. Mm-hmm. And so it's worth considering. And it does take, and the other tricky thing is it takes time to train somebody to do all the things you do. And that's when I just don't have time to explain it to somebody new. I have to do it myself. But you're going to get busier, at least that's the hope. So at some point, you just have to say, I'm going to take the time now, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, I say intend it, because that's another point on the money topic is, you have to be realistic when you're starting a business and know that it takes money to make money. You have to be willing to invest in yourself. The biggest thing I think you invest in yourself is time. I mean, it's just so much extra time when you are getting ready to, bring a whole new business to life. All the planning. I mean, just us to do this podcast.
I was just thinking that too.
It was like 8 months of us getting everything ready, setting up our business, our website, designing our logo. Buying the gear, figuring out how do you do a podcast? Like, what are we going to talk about? What are we going to call it? Just in so many other details, and we took our time because we're both running our businesses, and this is a passion project for us, but it's really important to us. But we are investing in doing this, and we invested in our businesses to start them. So I think coming into business ownership or becoming an entrepreneur, if it's something that's brand new for you and you've never ever, dipped your toe in that before, you need to know that it is going to be something you're going to have to invest in with time, also money, sometimes trading services with other people. There are a lot of different ways you can do it, but you definitely do need to realize that you are going to have to invest. And sometimes it's investing in help with people who know more than you. So,
and that actually is my second point of the possibly counterintuitive ways of having more money is investing up front, and that it's not just time, it's also money. And I'm, not to make it all about business, because I know we do have people who are listening and watching who maybe just are running households. I shouldn't say just, I don't mean that as, you're just running a household, but because again, money applies to our personal lives too.
Yes.
And in the delegation fact, I pay a landscaper. I could go out in my backyard and pull weeds, but I don't want to do that. I don't enjoy it. And no. So
it's not the best use of your time.
The money that I pay to my landscaper to make everything look pretty and keep the HOA happy is perfect. That's a big one. I have a new people in charge of the HOA, and they're getting a little nitpicky. So,
okay.
my landscaper takes care of that. Right. Well, the tree was apparently a leaf was too close to my house. So it was something really kind of silly, but that happens. It's fine. The other thing though, investing up front, and I do this, for things in my personal life too, it's thinking about spending a bigger chunk of money in the beginning that's going to save you money over time.
Yeah.
And I've done this with everything, from my car and, driving a hybrid back before fully electric was available. But, it was, I'm going to spend a little more on this car because I keep cars for a long time. So I knew that then the savings of paying less for gas over time was going to be, is going to pay off more. I do it I always talk about my kitchen gadgets because I like my kitchen gadgets. I know I talk about food prep a lot too, but that's because it comes to saving money and it comes to health and it comes to productivity. It covers it helps with all of the things.
Yes.
But it's, in terms of saving money, there are a lot of pre-made foods out there. And this is something that actually started me thinking about how to save money in my personal life when I was figuring out how I could save more so I could leave my job to start my own business. And it started with salad dressing. And one of my coworkers,
really?
Yes, we were having lunch in our little kitchen area at my old office, and he brought some olive oil and vinegar salad dressing in a bottle. it was Newman's or one of those companies. And I started reading the ingredients, and there were like 15 of them in oil and vinegar dressing. And I started to think, well, that bottle of dressing was a few dollars, but you could buy a whole big thing of olive oil and vinegar, and the only other things that go in it, or maybe some lemon juice or garlic, but it's such simple things. Why are you paying extra money for paying extra money, and it's not as healthy for you because there's all this other stuff in it that doesn't need to be there. It's only there so it lasts longer on the shelf. So then I started thinking, what am I spending money on that has ingredients that aren't great for me and that's costing me more money? That's how I got into making my own soap, which we talked about before. Because, I like the little foaming soaps, and I would spend with the $3 or $4 or whatever they cost on each one. My mom luckily found out how simple it was to make those. And it's fractionated coconut oil and Castile soap and essential oils. Wow. And that's it.
Would you like some lip balm?
I would like some lip balm.
400 tubes of lip balm
but,
that I made.
it was just eye-opening that I could make something that would fit two purposes. It's healthier and it's cheaper.
Yeah,
and I started
that's really good point.
Looking at a lot of different things in that way. And, at the grocery store, they sell all the prepackaged foods. And somebody was asking me about, zoodles became a thing. I like the word zoodles.
Zoodles is a great word.
You're spiralizing a zucchini and using it in place of pasta. So it's another health thing.
Zucchini noodle.
Zoodle.
Equals zoodle.
Just say it wherever you are right now, and please do me a favor and say zoodle.
Zoodle.
I like it. She sang zoodle, so that's taking it a step up, which I love.
That was just for you.
But you can buy now packages of zoodles. I saw these at the store the other day, and again, $4 or $5 for a little tiny, a serving. Mm-hmm. You could buy pounds of zucchini for that. And I have a really nice spiralizer that, put a little bit of investment into one kitchen gadget. But now I can take a zucchini and spiralize it in a minute and then have fresh, healthy zoodles without having to, again, spend money on a package that has...
Just trying to say zoodles as often as she can. I am trying,
but it's those little things. If you take the little steps...
The little things do add up in a big, big way. Yeah. And it's that, just going back to that old saying too, where it's like quality versus quantity. And, like you were saying about your car and spending a little bit more up front, but looking at the longer, the bigger picture is what I'm trying to say.
And it helps, I talking about food still just because now that's on my mind, and I have mentioned the Instant Pot before, but another thing that's an initial investment in a kitchen gadget.
Yes.
But, and I also love Sprouts. Sprouts is where I do my grocery shopping.
Sprouts is the best.
For a lot of reasons, but they have bulk sections that save me a lot of money. One of them is spices. Because how many times are you have a recipe and you need 2 teaspoons of a spice that you don't have, so you buy this big old jar and you use your 2 teaspoons and then you never use it again. It just sort of hides in the back of your cabinet. And then, by the time you need it again, you realize
forget you had it.
Yeah. Oh,
so then you go buy it again. Right. That's what I do.
So you have 6 jars of paprika sitting stacked up in the back of your cabinet.
Yes.
So at Sprouts, you can buy your spices in bulk. And sometimes I'll walk out of there, I'll get what I need for that week, and I'll spend 21 cents on, cumin seeds or something like that.
And they're fresh.
They are, and that has been a huge thing. The others, they do beans and rice and grains and all of that. So my quinoa and all my, my weird vegetarian food. But it's so much cheaper. And
I love it.
With the Instant Pot, one of the big things is beans, which as a vegetarian, you eat a lot of. Not all of us. My brother hates beans and he's a vegetarian, but my brother hates all foods. So there's like 4 things in the world he likes,
I have a brother
who
doesn't eat much either. I have a vegetarian brother who is like, I don't know, there's not much. He won't eat any fruit. There's not one fruit that he'll eat.
I love fruit. Yeah.
He doesn't like any fruit. I was like, how do you not eat any fruit and you're a vegetarian?
That's
He's
tricky.
like, I substitute cheese pizza.
Right. Cheese pizza is a great substitute for fruit.
It is.
I love it. But yeah, I used to buy the cans of beans from the store, and each one of those could be a couple dollars. Now I buy the beans in bulk, And I save a lot of time because you don't have to soak them overnight and then cook them for several hours. The Instant Pot's a pressure cooker. So, you know, you throw a bunch of stuff, you set a timer, you walk away from it, come back, 30 to 40 minutes later, and it's done.
No, that is really nice.
Time saver, money saver, just with a little initial investment up front.
And I do want to say, again, to just add to my point about living in an instant kind of world, you can't put your brand new business in an Instant Pot and hope, or is it an Instapot or Instant
It's instant.
Pot? Okay, you can't put your brand new business in an Instant Pot.
You can't pressure cook it.
You can't pressure cook it in 30 to 40 minutes.
Can we do hashtag you can't pressure cook your business?
Yeah, you can't. It just goes back to what we were saying earlier. It's like you just, patience is a virtue, and it's so important when you're growing something. I think passion, persistence, patience, those are definitely key ingredients. They're key.
You're bringing it back around.
Amanda noticed that she says this is key a lot.
Yeah, so
things are key.
Just for the record, this episode that we're recording now is the first one that we've recorded since we officially launched and put us out in the world.
Since we've been out in the wild. Yes.
So, I was doing some quality control and watching the episodes, and there were two things I noticed. Like, I say sort of a lot. I never knew that I say sort of, and I need to stop doing that. So I'm a little conscious of that now. And I think the first 2 or 3 episodes, I'm like, the key thing here is there's a lot of keys. I have a lot of keys.
You have a whole keychain worth.
Yeah. And I know in my head there's a lot of, my favorite thing about working for myself is, and there's a lot of favorite things. So there's a lot of keys, there's a lot of favorite things.
Hey,
I'm okay with that.
But there are also a lot of locks, and you're unlocking those keys.
You're being very punny today.
I am very punny. I don't know. I'm having a great day, but it's been a long day. It's been, we did a photo shoot.
You taught a class today,
Taught
right?
a class today. Just, it's, again, life of a business owner. Never a dull moment.
I need to go into the importance of saving.
Yeah.
There's one thing I just want to make sure we don't forget.
That is key.
It's key. One of the keys. And it's for business, it's for personal.
Yeah,
and I want to say that number one, if your response about saving is that I can't afford to save, I don't buy it. I think you need to be honest with again, I'm always the tough love one, but it's important. If you can't afford to save, you need to address your budget because there's too many unknowns out there to not have some kind of a safety net. We all know things come up, something at the house breaks. If you have kids, something comes up all the time.
There's always something
You can't always
up.
plan for those things.
Right.
And when you're a business owner, this is especially important, especially if you're a sole proprietor or you're a single member business, because now it's all on you. Mm-hmm. And some of the things, it's the thing that gets people in trouble a lot when they're starting business is they don't remember about the taxes, or they don't know about the taxes. And when and this changes, I'm not a CPA, so I'm not going to give specific tax advice. It depends on your situation.
This is called a disclaimer.
It's a disclaimer, yes.
Yes.
But but having a good accountant is one of my keys. But it is like one of my number one rules in business is to have a great CPA who can explain things, advise you on your specific situation, help you make smart decisions with your money. It's a great thing to have.
Yeah.
But when you're on your own, especially a lot of times people in their first year, they decide to be a sole proprietor. They're not quite ready to jump into being an LLC. And when you're a single member LLC, at least in Nevada, it's the same as being a sole proprietor when it comes to taxes. Yeah. But then there's different options you can choose as you grow your business. But when you're self-employed, you're subject to a self-employment tax. And that is on top of your regular income tax. I just almost said sort of, I caught it. Our rule of thumb is to save minimum 30% of your income for taxes. 30%. And it's not really saving because it's not your money. When you work for somebody else, they take that money out of it before you actually get it. So you're not as aware of it, except for maybe at the end of the year, hopefully you get a refund and then it's happy time. Yeah. But if not, then it's sad time. Yeah. And sad time. My birthday is on tax day, so I get a lot of people who are not happy on my birthday. So,
but I'm happy.
I do my taxes in February to get them out of the way.
Yes, you do.
But
you do. It's kind of funny and appropriate that your birthday is on tax
Isn't
day.
it?
Actually, when I first found out when your birthday was, I remembered thinking, that just seems right.
Right.
You know, that's your birthday.
And apparently, if you talk to my mom, I was very adamant that the 15th, like it pushed it. It was like 11:50 something at night, I think. It was almost the 16th, but I was like, nope, I've got to be a tax day baby.
I am going to be a tax day baby. I love it.
That's what I did. So apparently I've always been about taxes and eating.
A thought, right? Well, hey.
She said I started eating very, very early.
Yeah.
Like needed solid foods right away because I was always hungry. So
Well, hey. True to the Amanda McCune-ness. I was going to say a lot of voiceover folks, talent, friends, peers, longtime voice actors, and some of the newer ones. I know many who have gotten themselves in trouble with not saving enough money for taxes and really feeling that pinch or that, just it's not even a pinch. It's more of like a, it sucks all the air out of the room, where you're go, I wasn't prepared. I didn't know. And so this is really good stuff to be thinking about, especially if you've been working for someone forever and, this is a new territory for you.
I saw it early on because I hired a lot of freelancers at my old job, and I would get the calls around the beginning of every year, and people were in panic mode because they were putting together all their information for taxes and they owed a lot of money. Yeah. So they were calling, begging for work and saying, oh, do you have any jobs? And I thought, well, why are you telling me about your tax woes? I'm sorry to hear that, but I can't make up work for you because you didn't save. But it got into my head that this is a big problem for freelancers, sole proprietors, independent contractors, business owners, whatever you want to call it, is that it's very easy to think, I need this money right now to spend on this other thing. And maybe it's something that you actually need, but it's very important to remember that it's not your money. You're going to owe it at some point, and it's much easier to save as you go than it is to try to come up with it all of a sudden at the end of the year. So I always advise to get a separate account if you have to. Like if you're the type that if the money's there, you're going to spend it, and you know that about yourself, open a whole separate account, and every time you make a deposit, take that 30% of that deposit and put it into that account. It's just easier to do it as you go, and then you have that tax account that's there and ready. So when you do your taxes, and if you owe, and maybe it's a few $1,000s, that money's already there, and then you don't have to stress about it. And you should be paying quarterly anyway, and so hopefully it's not a huge thing. But just we talk a lot about habits, getting into that habit is very important.
It's huge.
And then on top of that, were you going to say something about taxes?
No, go ahead. And I had another little thought. You're saying things that are triggering thoughts for me, but go ahead, continue. I don't want to interrupt your thought.
My next thing is, in terms of savings, take that 30% minimum, keep that aside. I always say save 35. That way, just in case, and if it doesn't end up being 35, you've got some extra money in the bank.
Yeah.
Then you can put that in your savings. Savings being important. And I always say, on top of the 30%, take another 10 to 15%, 20 if you can, put that away in the same way. Maybe it's another separate account. A lot of people do that.
That's good advice.
And the reason I say to save a percentage of your income versus saying I'm going to save $500 a month or a flat fee. When you're in business for yourself, business fluctuates a lot. So saving more in the busy months helps make sure that you're covered in the slower months. So it's easier, if you have a really great month, you're going to take a bigger chunk of that and put it away.
And that's another reason why tracking your income and your expenses in like software such as QuickBooks or FreshBooks or whatever is when you're brand new and you're starting your business, you don't necessarily know where those trends are going to lie, which months are going to be busy, fruitful months and which months are going to be slow. As you continue to grow your business and the months and years roll on, you can look back and say, oh, wow, for me in voice acting, the first, 2 weeks of January are really, really quiet, like, not much going on, because everybody's just like, wow, what just happened? Holiday season.
I remember talking to you on one of our old coffee dates before we started working together. And right after I had gone off into my own, and I think it was January, and it was slow, so we had time to meet. But I remember having a conversation with you, and you had said there was another person, I think another voice actor that you worked with, and you sort of had a pact that every January when it was slow, you had to remind each other that it's always slow, because it is, especially when you're getting used to it for the first few years, that fluctuation can be really scary. And it's easy to think, I don't have any work right now. Am I ever going to work again? What's going to happen?
We'd have to talk each other off the ledge these couple times a year. And really great, dear, close voiceover friend of mine, he's been voicing as long as me. And probably almost 2 decades, we've been going through this together, where January would roll around and it's so bizarre, because also there's such a huge, enormous amount of volume that hits from, say, beginning in November through the second week of December. We're so busy voicing for so many. We both do a lot of retail, a lot of commercial campaigns.
Lots of holiday sales.
Lots of holiday sales. And so January comes, it's like you can hear crickets chirping. And the first time that I felt that, I remembered panicking and saying, hey, I'm holding up a phone to my ear for just the listeners. Are you working, or what's going on? And he was like, oh my gosh, no one's calling me. I'm so glad I'm not alone in this.
There should be freelance support groups for stuff like this. And there actually are groups on Facebook, I think, where people talk about this all the time. Yeah. But it's part of why the savings and having a plan helps, because it does fluctuate a lot. It's huge. When you know that you have money tucked away to cover that, it makes it a lot less scary when that time rolls around and it's a slow month. And it happens in my world, everything happens all at once or not at all. And it's tricky to adjust to. And even now, a few months in, it's like, but I have to remind myself, okay, take advantage of the slow time and sort of breathe a little bit, because it's going to
and have a little faith, put a little trust in yourself, if you are definitely working at growing your business and putting in that effort every day, and, it's just like when you're in sales, you have to be quote unquote knocking on those doors or making those phone calls or putting in that effort to build those new relationships. You can't ever be complacent. You have to always be working at it, even during the very fruitful times, even when, I'm super busy during, major seasons of commercial voice acting. I'm still picking up the phone. I'm still cold call marketing. I'm still auditioning a lot to build new clients, because there are no guarantees. But you do have to keep the faith, as far as believe in yourself, believe in what your service is you're providing, the product that you have, and just you have to put some trust out there. Do you mind if I talk a little bit about lack versus abundance and that whole thought process for a second, or am I getting
What if I said I minded? Would you stop?
Well, I
don't think you should give me that power. I think it's important
what it is?
to talk
I just
about
in
it.
case you were still in the savings talk.
I told you it's been snarky today.
We both have been a little.
I like it though.
I like it too.
Well, it's funny, because like I said, we released our podcast out into the world, and we're getting a lot of feedback from people like, I love your chemistry. You guys are so different.
We are.
That's why, and I think as we get more comfortable doing these,
it's the yin and the yang all the way. But I love the balance between us.
I think it's good.
I do. No, I do. I just truly, though, I wanted to make sure, because you were really on an awesome roll with savings, and I didn't want to mess up your if you had a few more things to say.
I appreciate that. I just think save, and you were talking about having faith, and I think that's important. And it's also just, do the work when it's slow. If you just come off of a very busy time, take a day or two to do something for yourself, please. Like
Self-care.
self-care, very important. But don't get complacent. Don't get lazy. Just remember, okay, if I'm slow, who can I be reaching out to? Let's spend this time on marketing. Start spending your time on things that will bring money back to you.
Absolutely.
And then, let's talk about lack versus abundance.
Yeah, okay.
I like abundance. That's my preference.
I like abundance too. So my thought is, I was telling Amanda before we even started rolling today, I always like to work from an abundance mindset, meaning I always believe, I put trust out there that there's always enough to go around, and there are plenty of opportunities for me. And I'm not being a freelancer and being a voice actor, it's really easy to get caught up in the mindset that, is there going to be enough for me? Can I get mine? And it's so competitive and everybody wants to voice act, or everyone wants to be a photographer, or everyone wants to be fill in the blank.
There's a lot of competition no matter what you do.
Sure. But I don't really think from a competition mindset. I think I'm competing with myself. And the reason I say that is because the product I'm selling is me. It's my voice. It's my storytelling, my perspective, who I am. And so it's more about selection. It's more about people are going to either select me to be right for their project or not. And I don't really feel like I'm up against someone. I feel more like I am in a pool with a lot of other great talent. And either I'm going to work out and be the one that's selected, or I'm not. So I really put the positivity out there with, I'm just going to do me. And I totally believe that there's plenty of opportunities for me and for everyone for that matter. And I think if you're always worrying about not having enough, there's an energy that goes along with that, right? But if you come at it like, there's plenty for everybody, and there's plenty for me, and really believe that. And that's kind of hard at first. But currency, the word currency means to flow. And so, the money flows, money comes, money goes, but money flows. And I think that if you allow yourself to open up your mind enough to believe that the money is going to flow to you and you're open to receive it, it's going to come to you. But if you're closed off and you think, I don't have enough, I can't get enough, or you're not worthy of it, or you have a lot of negative talk around, in your mind, about money, you'll create that for yourself.
Were you just going to try to figure out how to describe that to the listeners? She's making basically the chatter. Look. She's talking about chatter. Now she's distracted by the shadow on her side.
I'm doing shadow puppets.
So if you're listening only, this might be reason to watch the video version so you can see what we're actually
I don't have enough. I don't have enough.
Yeah. Now there's a whole puppet show happening now with her hands. So
the coffee's kicked in.
Oh, yep. No. Here we go.
No, but
there's all that. What she was saying is there's a lot of talk, or there's a lot of chatter that's usually negative in your mind. And we talked about positivity. We probably talk about it most episodes because we both believe in it so much. But you have to train yourself to think, I have enough. There will be enough.
Yeah.
And get yourself out of that habit of the worry. And it's really hard when your whole life has been a struggle, or
absolutely,
when you've had challenges or times when you just didn't have the money and whatever. People go through that. It's totally normal.
You're going to go through that, and
you find a way through. And
you do, but you have to believe that it's there for you, and you can't give up. And it's one of those things too, where I think, going back to patience, if you're planting the seeds, and you have to give them time to, cultivate and sprout. You can't expect, just like, if you were to take some seeds and drop them into some dirt, you can't just expect them to grow because you say, I want you to grow right now, It just won't happen. But just like when you're building a business, it's like you're taking all this time and you're planting all of these seeds, and one by one, opportunities are going to pop up and those are going to start to be fruitful for you, but you have to be patient, you know?
When you were talking just now, I haven't thought about this in years. Wow. So I mentioned when I was a teenager, I worked at TCBY for a few years and serving ice cream because I lived in Vegas. And as a teenager, you're kind of limited in the jobs that you can have. And I thought, well, at least I'll be cool indoors and I can eat some ice cream. And I worked there. I worked there for 6 years and I made a lot of really good friends. And, you know, a lot of us are still friends now. It's like the old TCBY crew. But there was a thing that I did back then when I was 16, 17, and I don't know where it came from. I'm sure I learned it from somebody. But I was and it wasn't just OCD, but I would always go in the register and like make sure all the bills were facing the same direction. So the money was all in what I would call proper money order.
Yes.
And I always said, because if you take care of the money will take care of you. I don't remember where that came from, but it was something I remember, a girl that I worked with, and she, like, every now and then I'll still talk to her, and she's like, I still put money in the proper money order. And it's like, whether it was going into a wallet or into the register or anywhere, I always had to make sure the bills were facing the same direction. And I love that about you. I just thought of that for the first time. But I feel like I take care of money. And what I was thinking more, not just, you know, who even uses cash anymore. So maybe you do because you're still writing a book. So that could be, you could use cash. But
maybe you could put it in proper money order for me. I might have a few dollars in my wallet. Let's look after we shoot today.
But it's more of having an appreciation of money. And it goes with mindset in that, you know, appreciate what you have, even if it seems like it's very little. I grew up without money. Like, our family didn't have it. And I'm grateful for that because I learned that you can get by with very little and still be happy. Money doesn't buy happiness. And so, you know, then as I earned my own money for myself, it was a different thing. And it felt good. And I know I earned it and I knew it was mine. And when I have great months, I appreciate that. And then when I have slow months, I would like to have the more money. But then I try to appreciate the time, the extra time I have. Because I'm not working, I can sort of I said sort of again. I can take a step back and breathe a little bit and know that it's going to come back.
Yeah. And I was just thinking too, you triggered a thought for me on every job that I do, every single voiceover job that I book, big, small, I don't care, you know, what amount of money I'm being paid. I'm always so thankful for the jobs that I get, and I always express my gratitude to the clients who are hiring me because they're all so important and they all add up to the sum total of my income for a month or a year or whatever time you want to measure it in. But it's, you know, have gratitude for each and every one of them. And I would say too that treat even your smallest gig that you're being paid for or your smallest retainer client or whatever with the same, dedication and just, appreciation is the ones that are the bigger paying gigs. Mm-hmm. They're all important to me. People say, hey, Melissa, what's your favorite job you've ever done? Your favorite? I go, oh my God, they're all my favorite. Mm-hmm. I'm like, it's a privilege to be able to, do what I love, to be paid to do what I love and to serve others. And then I'm being compensated for my skills, my talent, my time, the service I provide. And I think that's another way to love and respect the money and the abundance that I'm receiving, because dollar by dollar, it rolls in and it adds up to a much bigger picture. But even the small stuff, be really, really thankful for.
And that goes along with appreciation, and it goes along with the investment. It's something that I know you do this, and it's something that you're really good about sending your clients gifts and little tokens, not little, but gestures, making gestures where you're going to spend a little money to thank them for the money they give you.
Absolutely.
And I just had that recently. A good producer friend of mine had referred me to a job because she was busy. They called her, she couldn't do it, so she gave it to me. And I was really grateful for that. She and I have a really good working relationship, and, we've always want to work together, but we do a lot of the same things, so we don't end up on those jobs together. But I was really appreciative. So I sent her a gift card and I get this text and she said, "You're ridiculous." And I said, "Oh, okay." I mean, she was grateful.
Yeah.
But the way I looked at it is it's a small thing that I could do is, she got me a job that was 3 days of work that made me some money. That's money I wouldn't have had otherwise. Mm-hmm. So to take a chunk of that and give it back to her as a thank you, of course she didn't expect it. And she actually got me another job like 2 weeks after that. And I thought, wow, this is great. But it's part of relationship building and I believe the same thing in giving money away. Even when I don't have a lot of it, I just contributed to a friend of mine that he's working on a film and he has a GoFundMe account. And at this, right after that, and Brent Mackay, our producer, had an incident that he posted about where some money got stolen from him. And he turned it into a very positive situation.
Oh, so proud of him for that.
It was great. He really turned it around and said, instead of being mad or upset that this happened to me, I'm going to turn around. And then he earned his money back through the kindness of others and turned it into a story of positivity.
And learning for other people.
That was beautiful. So I gave money to him to, help with that. And it just, a lot of stuff came up and helping friends' charities and things.
Big time.
I don't always have a lot of money to give, but I feel like if I give it anyway, it's going to come back to me.
It's currency. It's made to flow. So even if you have a little bit, I'm really big on generosity. Mm-hmm. It was something that was taught to me from my family. My dad was actually born in Croatia, and my grandparents immigrated here, and my dad immigrated here when he was only 5 years old. And they literally came to the United States with a suitcase, $5 in their pocket. And I'm really proud of how hard my family's worked to build the business. But my grandfather, he was the most ridiculously amazing tipper. I mean, to the point where I was in awe of, anything he would have. I mean, he would tip in great excess and he would do so many things for people. And I was like, why does he do that? Why does he do that? Because it made him feel really good to share what he had. Yeah. And I think whatever you have, everything we have, I believe, is meant to share, to pay forward. It's like knowledge, inspiration, money, anything you have that you can share, I think you should share. And I just was always in awe of my grandfather, and my whole family's this way. I mean, he set this tone for anything you have, just let everyone enjoy it with you, and it was magic. It was so beautiful to watch. And that's a gift that he gave to me. And he passed away several years ago. But even when I'm at a restaurant, it's like if I'm looking at, the bill and I'm looking at, what's 20% or whatever, I'm always like, 20%, whatever. I round up grossly, or I give a lot of extra money to people in service because I know how hard they work. I used to be a server, and it's not easy. And it also helps make up for the people who decide to be stingy or not tip, or I that kind of stuff. Yeah. But that's it's not really off subject.
It's not, but it's it goes back to what we're saying in investment, and what this podcast is for us is that way. We're investing our money and our time into putting this content out there that we hope you're enjoying. Hint, hint, we would love it if you'd leave us a review and send us some comments and let us know how we're doing, what you'd like to hear more of. We're going to start having guests on here soon. Let us know who you want to see. Do you have any tips for saving money or earning money or any of those things? Let's keep the discussion going beyond this, and hopefully we're investing our time wisely and sharing, and hopefully it's been helpful.
Yeah. And I like the way you just wrapped all that up. That was beautiful.
But no, see, you did it again. You call attention to the wrap up.
I'm an awkward ender.
I love it so much.
And I embrace it so much. And but you know what? We love you.
We do.
And we are really grateful that you're hanging out with us. And we hope we inspired you. And I want to do a real awkward ending.
Real awkward ending.
Yep.
Go make some money.
Go make some money. Turn this podcast off.
Thanks for joining us.
Come back soon. Bye.
Thanks for tuning into the Womanpreneur Podcast. Until next time, you've got this.